And we are live. We will give it a few moments for people to join in. Camera looks like it is set in a good spot.
I don't see it.
You can't see it.
Why?
You don't have. I mean, you can share Dan's computer, but it hasn't started yet.
Let's start it.
Why am I started here? You might have to refresh.
Refresh.
You have to refresh, Dan.
Refresh.
I'm gonna refresh.
Nope.
Oh, wow,
Nope,
what are you
don't
doing?
touch it. It started.
We're good.
It is started. Volume down. Volume down. Come on. You're gonna.
Oh. Oh, what are you doing?
Come on, Dan. Turn your volume on your computer down.
Is this going to be lagging the whole time again?
Well, it does because I get it live right off the bat, and then Dan's
Oh,
computer is a little bit behind, but the comments should still be pretty close, so you'll be able to catch it there. We will give it just a few moments for more to join in. For those of you that are already with me, this is Pep Talk Live, episode number 4. Correct?
4.
Four fingers.
1
40
plus
fingers.
3, 2 plus 2, 3 plus 1. 5 minus 1.
5 minus 1 is 17. Minus a few more.
What?
Okay. Are you guys ready? You guys ready to get started? You guys ready to get started? There's Troy Noel. He says, hey, hey, hey.
The one and the
Josiah.
only.
What's
up,
Jojo? Josiah
Jojo
is
Smoke.
with us here. He is joining in.
Homie, how you
Josiah.
doing?
Hi, Josiah. I haven't seen you in like forever, dude. Okay, I'm done with that, dude.
Yeah.
Now, bro. We are off-road enthusiasts, ATV, dirt bike.
Yeah, engine man.
We are not surfers,
No.
right? No surfers. All right, I think we are. There's Brian from Experimental Aircraft Channel joining us here.
Nice to
He
see.
says, "What's up? What's up, Brian? Glad you could join us today." I think what are we? Almost 2 minutes. We'll give it to 2 minutes, so 15 more seconds, and we're going to dive right into this topic. And as more join in, we will welcome them and get their input as well. We got 5 seconds here.
4.
3, 2, 1. All
0.
right, let's officially start this podcast off.
Do it.
We are going to be deciding today. Well, Seth's been bugging for a long time now
Yes, I have.
about dirt bikes.
Mm-hmm.
So today, we are going to not talk about dirt bikes. No, just kidding. We are going to talk about dirt bikes today. We're actually going to talk about dirt bikes, ATVs, and side-by-sides. We are going to determine if we can come up with which of the 3 is the king of off-road machines. So little versus action here today. So I have, as I prepare, and these guys just kind of wing it here, but that's all right. Your
It's
input is
better
still.
that way.
We are finally going to get Seth's dirt bike stuff in.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Ask the one who knows first.
we should do that. We
Then we'll
should.
see
We
how
should test
smart he
Seth's
actually
knowledge
is.
here on dirt bikes. I mean, you ride a dirt bike, but do you have any knowledge of said dirt bike which you ride?
How many?
No.
Which
How
Seth?
many
What?
valves does your dirt bike have?
2.
Wrong.
4.
Yes. How many exhaust valves? How many intake valves?
2.
2 of what?
Each.
Oh, perfect. How far do they
Yeah.
open?
All the way.
To where they can let their stuff through.
What is that stuff called, Seth?
Exhaust fumes.
Oh
and-
boy, this is going to be a riveting
We'll put on
podcast.
the
I
spot.
think.
To a great start.
All right. Well, before we put these 2 together, this is going to kind of play into the king of off-road, because when you think of a king, at least this is what comes into my mind when thinking of a king, is an elderly gentleman. That's not necessarily the case, but whenever I picture a king, I picture the old regal king, slightly graying hair, displays authority.
This is very poetic.
So,
Yellow Mountain.
so when determining the king, we have to, of course, look at which of these machines has been around the longest.
Cars.
That's not in
That's
this
not-
category. Now,
that's-
you're just trying to go against the grain here on purpose, Dan, and causing problems here with a podcast.
I did.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on, Dan. But-
Controversy is key.
In all honesty, dirt bikes have been around the longest. I did a little boop, 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 boop research for this,
Cool.
and the very first dirt bike, I should say dirt bike with quotations, because the very first dirt bikes that came on the scene was, in fact, modified street bikes, where they kind of pretty much probably just changed tires. They might have played around with the power delivery and maybe suspension a little bit. But the person credited with developing and coming out with the very first dirt bike was a guy by the name of Siegfried Beetman, and that was clear back in the good old date of 1914. So that's quite a while ago. But again, we're talking about a modified street bike to run on the dirt. Now, if we thinking about like production dirt bikes, those really didn't pop up until sometime later in the 1940s and 50s. That's when we got to see the actual development of a purpose-built two-wheeled
Off-road.
motorcycle for off-road, later to be deemed a dirt bike.
I mean, if you think about the very first motorcycle that they made, they didn't have concrete or asphalt.
And
back
that is a
then.
very good point.
So could that then be considered the very
It
first dirt bike?
Could be considered a dirt bike, but I think we got to pick or class the dirt bike as a purpose-built for off-road, meaning
Okay.
not a purposefully made road.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
And
Thank you.
Brian had the same exact guess you did. He guessed Yamaha as being the first manufacturer to produce it in the between 1940s and 1950s. There wasn't an exact date, and that is close. But
Maybe we should hold off on that for a little bit, see if we can get some more guesses.
get some more
going.
guesses. We can do that. We can do that. You guys let your guesses down. Who you think the first production manufacturer to purposely produce on a massive scale a dirt bike was? I'll take a couple more guesses here as we go. The first ATV did not appear on the scene till around 1967, and of course that was a three-wheeler, and that was not what you're thinking of. The very first three-wheeler that was debuted in 1967 was a Sperry Rand Tri-Cart was the name of it.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. And eventually, when I get my podcast set up here a little better, I'd like to have my TV behind me where I can project pictures. It would have been nice to have that so I could put a picture up for you guys of the very first ATV if I could have found one. I don't have that set up yet. But that was the very first three-wheeler. First class ATV was a three-wheeler in 1967. Honda, of course, the most popular three-wheel producer and pretty much the innovator, they didn't come on the scene with their ATC 90 until 1970. So that was actually a few years later. We finally have Honda introducing the first ATC 90. And of course, you guys, I'm sure watching this, you're familiar with the ATCs. There's ATC, 90s, 110s. The big reds came on the scene
I have a 70.
afterwards. You have the 70 you rode for the longest time.
Yep, that was my first machine.
And so they didn't come on to the scene again until 1970 with Honda. The very first, what we'll call a four-wheel ATV, that was actually introduced in 1982 by Suzuki. So Suzuki actually had the very first four-wheel ATV. And again, that was in 1982 with the Quad Runner LT 125. So we see a jump then once ATVs come on the scene in sales switch from dirt bikes to ATVs. The farthest date I could go back was 2012. In 2012, which is quite a while after both dirt bikes and ATVs have been on the scene, but not quite yet to where UTVs have really come on to popularity. Dirt bike sales in 2012 was 71,535, so not too shabby. But ATV popularity had grown by such leap and bounds at that point, they sold a whopping 225,244. So we see that slow takeover from dirt bikes to ATVs. And then the very first UTV that was introduced was, of course, Kawasaki Mule. 1988 was its big debut. However, as you guys may or may not know, the industry would be forever changed in the year 2014 with the introduction of what machine, Dan?
Polaris.
No, we are not there
Oh,
yet.
darn it.
Seth. I used to have one. Jesse has one. I did a really
Oh,
radical
yeah, the
build on one.
Rhino.
The Rhino. The Rhino
take that.
660 debuted in 2004. And that was when the UTV scene really came onto the market and skyrocketed in popularity with the Yamaha Rhino, the 660. That in 2004, that was the first year where we saw the switch from like a consumer, like a business purchase of UTVs, like your John Deere Gators, your Kawasaki Mules. It switched and the consumer purchases surpassed the commercial purchases with the introduction of the Yamaha Rhino because it just took off. And I mentioned this in my little Yamaha review I did a while back on my main channel. That's where we see the creation of the term side-by-sides and where the UTVs really took off in popularity. And of course, Dan, in 2007, then we got the whole other side of that that's only added to the fuel, and that was with the introduction of what?
Polaris.
The Polaris Razor. That is what the good old Razor 800 in 2007 is what started off the sport craze. And that is probably by far the most popular segment in the off-road industry right now, I would say.
Mhm.
You guys agree with that?
Sure.
Yep.
So there is a quick little history of the three before we get into that. And Brian was the only one here that had any guesses on the first dirt bike manufacturer. So we're just going to go ahead and answer that. That was actually indeed Honda. Honda was the first company to large-scale manufacture dirt bikes back somewhere in the 1940s, 1950s. So now let's do a little versus here. A little dirt bike versus ATVs versus UTVs. See if we can't give some pros and cons for each and see if we can come up with which category, I should say, is the king of the off-road industry right now.
All right.
So you guys might as well start with dirt bikes. Seth, you are our dirt bike expert as not really, but you're what we have. Dan's rode quite a few dirt bikes, but he doesn't own a dirt bike right now.
I was too hard on him.
He was too hard on him, wrecked him too many times. So let's look.
That's a good voice.
What are we going to do? Do we want to go through and give pros for each and cons for each? Or go through and
pro
do
for each and a con for each, I think might be.
a pro
One
for
at a
each.
time.
One at a time. And do like a pro dirt bike, con dirt bike, pro ATV, con ATV that way?
You just got me really confused.
I know. I did
All
kind of explain that very confusingly.
Pros for each and then cons for each.
Pro
Just-
for a dirt
I think
bike.
that's easy.
Keeping it separate. And
Yep.
apart. Okay. So
I'll start off. Pro for a dirt bike. Nimble.
they are nimble. That is on my list. I will cross that off as we go so I don't repeat.
I promise you I did not read off that list.
You probably did. You're cheating. You're cheating already, Dan. As far as a in the woods buggy, by far the easiest to maneuver and zip around. They are lightweight,
2 wheels.
2 wheels. You don't
Narrow.
need a big open area to maneuver them through. You can get through trees and stuff super easy.
Mm-hmm.
So they are very, very nimble. And compared to the ATVs and UTVs, lightweight, super lightweight.
Mm-hmm.
Seth, do you have any guesses what your dirt bike probably weighs? You have
I would have to say somewhere around 250.
around 250.
We flipped it up a couple of times. I think it's right around 250.
So 250 pounds. Your smaller size ATVs are probably at least 500-600 pounds, I would guess.
I think my four-wheeler, my little 250 Honda, I think it was 300 pounds.
That was
it's a pretty.
I
light
guess,
one,
yeah, I guess we should distinguish between sport quads because sport quads are obviously going to be lighter than I'm thinking like 500-600 pounds. I'm thinking 4x4
Oh, yeah.
because that's what I grew up with. So,
My old quad runner, it's an 88. When I weighed it, it weighed in at 899 pounds with a 70-pound sandbag on it and me on it. So that kind of gives
so
you an
minus
idea.
that, and there's the weight of the four-wheeler.
Yeah,
20 pounds.
minus 300 pounds.
I bet you little Zippy probably doesn't weigh more than 300 pounds. That's pretty lightweight.
Yeah, I'd have to agree
My
with
little
that.
4-Track's 200. Okay, we want to go through more pros or go with the con now? Let's do all pros first.
Yeah.
We already got nimble. We already got
Jumping,
lightweight.
in my opinion, by far exceeds the rest of them by far.
And I mean, that's clear to see if you watch any
Jumping,
like
what?
supercross events and stuff. Jumping, well, just jumps.
Anything.
Dirt bike jumping.
We're still on dirt bikes. I thought we were down to
Nope.
four.
And again, that plays probably back into the nimbleness, the lightweight of it. You can control them in the air a lot. I mean, you can control a four-wheeler, but a side-by-side you can't control at all. You're at the mercy of however you hit that jump. That's how you're going to fly. You can control a little bit with throttle to keep the nose up or down, but not like you can on a dirt bike. You can swing those around like nothing.
Steering wheel we're on too.
Mm-hmm.
Dirt bikes are more designed, obviously, for jumping, especially with suspension travel. That's another thing, is how the suspension works. I think it can handle more.
I don't know. Some of these modern UTVs, 72-inch machines, the suspension travel they have.
Travel, I think the other ones might be more, but yeah, as far as the dirt bike goes, it can take
It can take more, but again,
60-foot jump.
that's going to go back into lightweight because
Yep.
you got a couple 100-pound machine versus a several 1,000-pound machine.
Yeah. True.
So
They got better ground clearance.
they do have better ground clearance.
By far, dirt bikes have way more ground clearance than anything.
we'll say stock for stock,
Yeah.
because I mean you can put portals on a machine, lift kits on a side by side or
Right.
ATV, get it up there. But stock for stock, yeah, ATV or a dirt bike has a lot more ground clearance. It's got that nice little hump in the middle there between the two tires where you don't get hung up on stuff very often.
Logs are quite easier on a dirt bike.
Yeah,
At least for me.
wrap it up over and you're
Oh,
good.
it's easy. A little tap the throttle and you're up over.
Unless
Uh-huh.
you smack her hard in a wheelie on a 4-wheeler. But
Another pro for dirt bikes: simple design.
they are really simple.
They are a super simple design. You got a motor, a simple frame, 2 wheels, handlebars,
Less parts.
less parts. Which brings me to another pro, right? It's a good segue. Pretty easy to maintain a dirt bike. You don't have to tear into panels or remove anything to work on them.
Nope.
Possibly you might have a few small plastic side panels like covering your airbox and
there's not much
battery
to
and
'em.
stuff like that, but there still isn't much to them. So they're simple design, which makes it easy to maintain them. They are easy to transport.
Super small, super light.
Super small, super light. Again, throw them in the back of a truck, strap them down good enough. You could haul them in a small size pickup or your bigger ATVs and side by sides, and you ain't gonna get one of those in like a Ford Ranger or a Colorado.
Nope.
So that's quite a few pros there for dirt bikes. Cons, right off the bat.
I'm
Now,
gonna say this probably first. I would have to say dangerous. It's number one.
they are more dangerous, which leads into my very first con. Now, again, full disclosure here, I don't have much experience on dirt bikes. I rode them, yes, in my youth. Not so much any of these modern powerhouses. I think the biggest I ever rode was a 125.
Who wants to see a video of him riding Seth's
That definitely means Jason has to ride my dirt bike at
Okay,
some point.
we're gonna have to get on your dirt bike at
Yes.
some point. No easing me in with a little 125,
Nope.
200, right straight on a big old 450,
Mhm.
wrap it open.
We don't have any 125s anymore.
I
We
know.
grab those.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'd rather those. We just wanted
You
bigger.
just wanted
we just
more
wanted
power,
more
more power. But anyway, like I was saying, that is of being more dangerous. They're hard. It's hard work to ride a dirt bike, especially if you're trying to keep up with other machines, 4-wheelers and UTVs. You are working. You are sweating. Your arms are getting tired. You don't have the luxury of power steering or anything like that in a dirt bike.
If
So
you're comparing apples to apples,
Oranges
So-
to oranges.
leaving the
Pears to
4-wheel
pears.
drive style 4-wheelers out of it, 'cause you got to compare the sport quads. to
that's
the
true.
dirt bike.
That's true.
They're just as hard on your arms as the dirt bikes.
Yeah. If we're
I'll say that.
if we're talking a sport machine, sports. I
He
don't-
says no, but he never tried to ride my 400EX whenever I was riding with him on his dirt bike. My arms were always beat because you have 2 wheels smacking everything, and it's constantly ripping
That's
your
true.
arms.
They don't make a sport
Constantly.
quad with power steering at all, do they?
No, they do not.
They don't. Well,
They don't make any.
there's not many sport
Nope.
quads left. I mean, you got the Raptor. Does Honda even make a sport quad anymore? They still make a
The
450.
400EX.
They
I
make the- they
believe,
still
and
make the
then
400EX
Suzuki's a
And the
400 now.
Suzuki. I can say Suzuki.
I think
don't think it
Yamaha and maybe I don't even think Kawasaki.
I don't know if Kawasaki. I
offers.
didn't look into this. That's all the more. I don't.
The
I'm not a
KFX
sport
and-
quad guy. I'm more of the 4x4 guy. So I don't follow that too closely. But there isn't many sport quads manufacturers left making them.
I know the 450s become really unreliable, and they just started going with the 400s because more people were buying those because they were built more for racing,
Yeah.
also riding in the woods more than the 450s were.
hmm So dirt bikes cons. They're definitely
Way more work.
way more work and more dangerous. Which my next one is unstable. They are loud, especially when you're talking in terms of a 2-stroke. I don't care what you do to an exhaust of a 2-stroke. It's going to sound like a 2-stroke and it's going to be loud. Now 4-strokes aren't near as bad, but I
They're
mean,
loud still.
I think compared, you take a dirt bike next to a stock ATV, next to a stock UTV, I think the dirt bike will tend to be the loudest out of the 3.
Correct.
So there is a con there.
Yeah, if they still made the 450 quads, they'd be about equal. But a lot of people don't even make the 450 quads anymore, so you really can't compare them to the 400s because the 400, like my 400EX stock, was really quiet.
But but you never keep stuff stock or quiet for very long.
I never put the exhaust on it. Though. I've heard them stock, and they sound like his 250.
I
Yeah,
have
they're quiet.
I have a couple ride videos riding with Dan where he blew out the end of his muffler and it went
That was fun.
it went from burp to bah. So
Yeah, it sounded awful. 100% awful.
you guys, I have 2 more cons here for dirt bikes. You guys have any more to add here?
2 more cons.
It's hard for me to
Or
say.
you just want to
Let me-
elaborate on what I have?
They chew tires faster than anything.
Oh yeah,
That is a very good point.
They
Your
get the
one
tires quick.
your one-wheel drive, they are skinny. I think they tend to be a softer compound tire too, don't they?
Yeah, because
Well, they make different compounds.
They
So
make
you can
different
get a
ones.
hard tire, you can get a soft, or you can get a medium, or a medium soft, or medium hard.
So, but you do chew through tires pretty quick, and they are kind of a pain to change, aren't they, Seth?
Dirt bike tires are not fun, and I think just anybody at all that
Has
has
ever
ever
changed
changed a
a dirt
tire
bike.
will know that.
Yeah, I tried helping Seth here. That's been a couple of weeks ago with one. We got the tire on, but we ended
Yes,
up
we did.
pinching and ripping the tube in the process.
Yep.
So, so another con I have is compared to the other two, uncomfortable.
Yep, that's the way. After a
Yeah.
ride, we actually went for a ride today. Me and Cooper went out, and my butt hurts.
Yes,
really bad.
You got a thin, narrow seat.
It's practically a 2x4.
You, I guess, to be fair, you mostly
Two by
when you're
three.
riding, you're probably hovering above the seat anyway.
Yeah,
But even that gets tiring.
if you're built into riding enough, you should be off the seat most of the time.
Yeah,
But me, I sit on the seat a lot.
you sit on the seat a lot,
The
and it is
Brian-
uncomfortable. And a dirt bike is not well suited for mud or big rock climbing.
I
No.
beg to differ about the mud part.
Well, I've seen you go through some, but remember, we are comparing this to ATVs or UTVs.
That's true. But if you're comparing it to a sport quad and mud, a dirt bike is way better than a sport quad. It'll go through them without saddle biking so much easier.
That's true. The danger with a dirt bike, though, being the one wheel peel, is it can tend to dig in and rut and get you stuck a lot quicker.
Yep.
At least with a sport quad, you got bigger, wider tires, as long as you can keep the front from digging in, which is the
That's why even today when we're playing around, that being super soft was a little bit easier for the side by sides.
yeah. We did
They
some.
got 4 tires. I
I-
got 2.
Did a little work on my short course today. We did some rips. Got a video coming out of that here pretty soon. That was pretty fun. But I had some big mud holes we filled in. Or I filled in earlier in the day, so it's still kind of soft and loose. And you about wiped out a couple times sitting at one spot there.
Yep.
So,
Videos to number 1.
and rock climbing, I was again not much experience. I can't see as a dirt bike big rocks like you see these 4-seater UTVs and stuff crawling. I can't see a dirt bike doing
No,
Unless
you'd have
you're-
to. Most of them people that on dirt bikes climbing rocks like that, you have to be
unless
a lot more experienced.
you have one of those purpose built what I call parkour dirt bikes. You guys know what I'm talking
trials
about.
bikes.
The
Yeah,
trials
trial
bike.
bike.
That's it. I could not think of.
I've seen people use enduro style like KTM two-strokes, stuff like that. They're easy, but like Seth said, unless you're training for something like that, it's not all that fun.
It's not fun. Just from what I've watched you guys riding with you guys in dirt
Oh,
bikes,
that's
it
miserable.
doesn't look
That
fun.
is terrible.
I will
It
do
doesn't look fun.
anything except for rocks.
Yeah.
If there's a hill climb with big rocks in it, forget
Because
about it.
well, the thing with that too is it goes back to being more dangerous, more hard work. You're going up a hill climb, you smack a big rock the wrong way, you're going over
Yep.
and you're laying her down.
Did that.
So
At
there.
least you can lay it down,
you-
not roll it down.
That's true. That's true. But there is that danger that comes with the dirt bike. So that's all the pros and cons I had for dirt bikes. That got us started off pretty good, I think.
It did.
Josiah said here in the comments, an ATV is a more maneuverable vehicle compared to a UTV, as ATVs are able to handle tight turns and dense timber or brush with ease.
This was off a Google. Sorry.
That sounds very Google-ish, doesn't it? Like he just Googled why or which is better, an ATV or I see that. I see that. Josiah, you Googling stuff
Good
on us here right now.
Yeah, because he wouldn't use a comma beside ATV.
Oh, so you're taking it one
I
step
think
farther
he-
and saying he just copied and
I think
pasted
he
into the
did.
comments.
Oh yeah, he did.
Josiah, you better defend yourself here before they find out. All right, moving on to
He can't.
ATVs. Pro number one I have right off the bat, they are comfier than dirt bikes.
Yeah.
By far.
Yep.
You've got, it's a similar feel. You have a wider seat. And usually you got more cushion in the seat.
These newer four-wheel drive side by sides, they ride like a Cadillac. They handle stuff so well.
Mm-hmm.
It don't take much effort to go over big rough stuff.
Now, again, thinking about sport quads, they usually tend to have a more narrow seat, harder seat. But if you're on a sport quad racing, you're moving your body around for turns and stuff more than you are.
I think if I had a
ATV
sport
anyway.
quad today, my 400, I could have smoked everyone's times on that track.
I
On that
wouldn't
track.
argue.
Oh, yeah,
I wouldn't
that's
argue that.
easy.
I would not argue that.
Yeah,
no.
Those
So
sport quads are
it's
fun.
definitely so the dirt bike's nimble, but I'd say the four wheeler isn't as nimble, but it can be faster flat course.
Oh,
it's-
flat course, yeah.
And if
It
you're
is-
ripping through the woods on tight trails, you could probably get it better. on a four-wheeler than you can because you have two wheels to stop or four wheels to stop you and slow you down.
Mhm.
You have two wheels to power you out of the turns, and you can slide her sideways. Dirt bike, you have to really slow down unless you have a berm to run off of.
Yes.
And that's where like these straight stretches with the dirt bike, you can fly, but at the end of it, it's not hard. It's really hard to stop because you got two little tires, this wide trying to stop.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not much traction.
Yeah,
between
when
them.
you
Yeah, not much traction.
When you see the videos of the short course, you can tell the dirt bike slides a good 5 feet before the turn even comes up.
Yeah.
And you're still going too fast when you come into it.
Yeah, and that's another pro I have right here. Dan ties into that is they are more stable. Yes, they can still be a little bit tippy if you're not careful, but they are more stable than a dirt bike. Again, you have that extra two wheels basically to help give stability, and you can keep it planted while still moving your body to throw your weight around to take you in and out of a turn.
I've pushed my 400EX so much further into turns and other stuff than I would a dirt bike.
Mm-hmm.
And
I still have here ATVs, although not as nimble as a dirt bike. Most ATVs are still going to be nimble in the woods. Most are right around 46 to 48 inches wide, your typical ATV. Yeah. So they're still narrow. They're still pretty nimble for ripping around in the woods. I think my Grizzly was like 48 inches, 46 or 48.
Yeah, and I don't think my 400EX was much wider than that.
Yeah.
So we measured it whenever we did actual, but it may have been like 50.
Yeah, I don't know if we did any of the videos I made of that or not.
I think it was just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I think so.
So in the woods, the ATVs have a huge advantage because going slow with dirt bikes sometimes isn't always the easiest. You got the balance and everything. Mm-hmm. And then the UTVs are just big. So I think ATV is way better than the woods.
Josiah just confessed. He'll be honest. I did copy and paste. I have no clue what to say. You don't have to say anything to Josiah. You can just sit and listen. And that's all right, too. You have no thoughts to say.
Now, I do have to say, back to Seth's thing, they're not as fun to ride in the woods because they are too snappy and stuff, but there's multiple kinds of dirt bikes. We don't have to necessarily be talking about the 450 race bikes.
Exactly.
There's an enduro-style bike, too, which in return to comfort, way more comfortable than a sport bike. Yep. Do we have the luxury of knowing that? Not a whole lot. We haven't really had experience with, like, the trail bikes.
I figure, like, a dual sport, too, that's street and dirt, would probably be more comfortable because they're made for on the road.
Oh, yeah. You can sit on those for a lot longer period.
We went riding with our 450s, and Reese had his KLX.
I think
KLR. His 650.
I don't know.
He had his 650, and he kept up with us the whole time. And he was just comfort.
Yeah, it's all
He'll tell you that. It's more comfortable for him.
Another pro I have is with an ATV, and again, my mind tends to think more of the 4x4 and not sport quad. So this might not play as much into a sport quad, but they are a true all-terrain. Like we mentioned, dirt bikes, not the best in the mud or rocks, but an ATV can pretty much do it all.
Mm-hmm.
Sand, rocks, dirt, mud.
I say we could say that because you've had videos of me putting a 400 through things that it shouldn't have been put through. Mm-hmm. So I can say even the sport quads would contest to that.
Yeah.
You got videos of me swamping it in a mud pit that razors get stuck in.
And Lynn too, trying to go through some mud pits and get stuck, but his tires are bald. And this next one can be debatable on a pros or on my pro side is more power, than a dirt bike. But that is thinking of
KLR. My bad, Reese. He did message us back.
Oh, Reese is watching. That's who diesel teacher is, huh? Makes sense since he teaches at the Votech, huh? Yeah. Again, you can debate this one as more power. A dirt bike is going to be faster, yes, but does it actually put down more power? Horsepower, we're talking.
Typically, no.
Not really.
HP, no.
You're thinking like a Can-Am Renegade 1000, a Polaris Scrambler 1000. That's pushing 100 horsepower out of an ATV.
But I would have to say those two four-wheelers that you just mentioned are probably less nimble than any other four-wheeler because they're starting to get wide now.
They would be.
They're up to 60 inches now?
Yeah, because in order to handle that power, they got to widen them out.
Yeah, so I can't say that they would be any faster than a 500 Grizzly in the woods.
No, but again, I am not talking here as far as speed. Okay. We're talking just power in general.
Right.
ATVs push more power.
Yep. Yeah, they're pushing 90 horsepower, I do believe.
And again, you're getting into V-twins inline. Did they make an actual inline twin four-wheeler? I think all the but that's an older one they don't make anymore. Pretty much V-twins is what you have for two-cylinder ATVs. So So they do have more power. And they are still easy to transport.
Yes.
Four-wheeler, you can still throw in the back of pretty much any pickup out there on the road today and still transport it pretty easy. So that one would be a toss-up with dirt bikes.
Agreed with that.
Yep.
Anything else to add to the cons or pros? We're still on pros. We're getting ready to head to cons.
Yeah. I mean,
One thing compared to a dirt bike, you can actually have a passenger.
That is true. They make 2-up ATVs, and even without 2-up ATVs, you can ride a passenger easier on an ATV than you can dirt bike.
for legal reasons, we do not.
We do not condone. Always stick to the manufacturer's recommended passenger capacity on your machine. Right.
Well done.
Well done. Thank you, Dan. Covering our bases here.
I get yelled at a lot at work.
I'm sure you do.
There's things I'm not allowed to sell that interest in legal reasons. So,
although this brings me up to a funny story, I'm going to cut in here real quick. Back. I wish Talisa was here to confirm this. I do believe it was when she was pregnant. We went for a ride on the Grizzly and came up to a hill climb that I may have goosed a little bit too much and almost went over backwards, which with a pregnant woman on the back would not have been a good thing.
Chase.
So again, don't condone riding 2-up on a non-2-up machine. We'll just leave it at that and move on. How's that sound?
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Moving on.
Nice.
Cons of ATVs. More expensive.
way
Way more expensive, especially in today's prices.
What does a new four-wheel drive, let's say, Grizzly cost now?
You know, I'm not going to lie. They're not more expensive than a dirt bike. You can probably still buy an average 700 Grizzly or cheaper than you can buy a 450 race bike. 450 race bikes running 10 grand now.
Oh, really?
Yep.
See, I don't know this because I'm not a dirt bike guy. So
10 grand, all the new 450s right around 10 grand.
Wow. Okay.
Yes.
So
I believe the Yamahas are
11. That maybe shoot that out the window because I'm still back into when dirt bikes were like 2-3 grand.
And if you buy a sport quad, if you buy a sport quad, I do believe they're right around like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
So, and they're cheaper than a 4-wheel drive. So there's some 4-wheel drives that run 14.
The new Grizzly 700s are, depending on what edition, whether it's a base or standard, or 11 grand roughly. So
and, if you buy the Polaris Scramblers, the 1000s, the Can-Ams, you're looking at $14,000, $15,000 still.
That's crazy.
So okay, so that I guess that one could be debatable. ATV might not necessarily be
any
more
even.
expensive. It's probably about even, so that one's kind of a wash. Harder to work on, just simply for the fact that most of your ATVs, unless it's a sport, have the plastic body panels. You got to tear stuff off. It's a little more work to get into an engine to do any work on.
That's what was nice about the Honda. Pull a lever, everything in the back comes off with one pull of one lever. That was it. Any other sport quad is not like that.
Yeah. So they are a little bit harder to work on. And even though you have a little bit more stability than you do on a dirt bike, an ATV, I think, could probably actually, some ATVs would probably still ride rougher than a dirt bike because you don't have the suspension that you have on a dirt bike.
I'd still stick with the fact of like the new 4-wheel drive ones.
Yeah, again, thinking 4-wheel drive and not a sport.
And if I were to buy another ATV, a new ATV, it would be the 4-wheel drive. They go just as fast as the sport quads do.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they're amazing.
They handle, I would say, probably better. They might have more body roll because independent, but they're more comfortable. You can almost do basically the same stuff, and you can still get them to kick out. And with the wider base that they have now, you could probably actually take turns faster with the 4-wheel drive ones.
Yeah, again, thinking of the Renegade 1000s, the Scrambler 1000s, especially their long arm edition there. Those are some pretty potent ATVs.
Oh, yeah, those are rippers.
So
they got a Scrambler 1000. I do believe it's the Scrambler 1000 at work. Or it might be the Sportsman. Either way, they're pretty close to the same thing.
They are pretty close.
I don't know what year it is, but I can tell you it's one of the newer ones, and it looks like a tank.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think it's a little excessive for around here? Maybe,
most
of everything we do anymore is run down by a side-by-side, so I would have to say anything 60 inches, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, all our trails we used to ride that were made by ATVs are now rode on by UTVs and have widened out. And so
yeah, and most people around here are running Turbo S's now.
Yeah.
I see more Turbo S's and Can-Am X3s than most of anything.
Yeah. Which is funny because you almost always see them just putting through the woods, and you think, why spend the money on that turbo?
That's what I don't get.
Unless it's just because they know they're going to be off and on the throttle, and so they put that
Most of the trails
aftermarket
are
blow
trying to
off
squeeze
valve, and they just
through.
want to hear that choo, choo, every time, every 2 seconds, right?
That's me.
Yeah, that's me too. That's Mighty Mouse now.
I converted you to turbo.
I know. I got that blow off valve hooked up with Mighty Mouse, and it sounds good. And then, but I'm not going to get into that because that's going to depress me if I think about what happened to turbo number 2 on Mighty Mouse and turbo number 3. But ATV again, it does still take more body language to control. I would say more so than a dirt bike because you're heavier with an ATV, and so you really got to throw your body into it if you can shift your weight around to control it.
Yep.
So
It's definitely a lot of work. 'Cause if you ride with anything on a trail that goes 40 mile an hour, to keep a four-wheeler planted at 40 mile an hour, there's a lot of body work involved in it. A dirt bike, you kind of just lean and put your foot down and go.
that is true. So, any more cons to add, guys? That's all I had on my list.
Ground clearances.
Ground clearance again, not great on ATVs because they're shorter wheelbase, they're narrower, and most stock ATVs come with 25-inch tires now.
Yeah.
Still, most 20, some 24, most 25.
I mean, they got less ground clearance than a dirt bike.
Yes.
I would have to say it's a pro over a side-by-side, though.
Mm-hmm.
Less.
It might have less ground clearance than a side-by-side, but a side-by-side is how much longer.
That's
how
true.
much wider. On a four-wheeler, the
So for
wheelbase
like a
is
bank.
Yes.
four-wheeler's close enough it can go over certain things. And if you get it stuck on something, it's easier to pull.
So for a UTV, maybe something short like a rock or a log might be easier, whereas like a divot or a hump or something like that,
Oh, see,
a four-wheeler would be better.
Case in point, you think of the Wolverine X4 versus Mighty Mouse going over stuff. I would hit stuff all the time with the bottom of the X4 that I never hit with Mighty Mouse. Again, I'm on big 32s and on the long travel now, but even before I did all that, the wheels were closer together, even 27-inch tires. You didn't need as much ground clearance because your wheelbase and width was shorter.
Yep.
So
the other thing that sucks about it is the ground clearance is low enough so when you get in mud, it does bottom it out.
yeah, mudding and
That's about the only part.
that hurts you. Yeah, high center and then you're done. So okay, I think that's a pretty good list of cons and pros for ATVs.
Yep.
Moving on
to the next.
One of my favorites,
Obviously.
UTVs.
I couldn't imagine
Obviously.
why.
UTV pros. I'm going to dawn back, if you guys can think in your minds, way, way, way back to last month's podcast.
That's so far away.
I think it was last month's, wasn't it?
Oh, see,
That was about the overnighting.
Okay, it was two. It was 2 ago. Yes, it was 2 podcasts ago. When Dan said one of the best things about a UTV, because it was a versus. It was another versus.
Huh.
It was manual versus
CVT.
One of the very best pros with a UTV, no matter what UTV it is, you get to bring a friend.
Yeah.
You remember saying that, Dan?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I don't like riding by myself.
Dan
If
doesn't
I
like
don't
it.
have anyone to make fun of or make fun of me, it's not a fun time. Just be honest. I mean, if you're out there and you do something stupid and you're like, oh, man.
And let me be clear.
Right,
Because all side-by-sides are at least 2-seaters.
Well,
unless you get the RS1.
Yeah,
or
RS1 or the Ace. But I mean, anyway. And Dan, I have to say here that it is fun to make fun of you. Just saying.
I do a lot of dumb stuff to make fun of me for. So
But you have broad shoulders. You take it in stride and you laugh at it yourself, which is
I cry deep down though.
okay. Now you're gonna make it. Now you're going to make us feel bad. But
That's why I do.
So one of the best pros with the UTV is you can always bring a friend with you. Next one, they are the most stable out of the 3. I don't think we need to argue that. I mean,
wider,
longer wheelbase.
That's why you see big whoop section.
Although the more that I think of it, you think of like a smaller 50-inch, like a Pioneer 500, compared to an ATV. At least with an ATV, you can move your body around to shift your weight, like on a side hill situation, and you can't do that on a UTV.
There's
you're
not a whole lot you
strapped
can
in the
do with
seat.
your weight.
Yes.
So that might be an argument in that statement there, but
you can take a four-wheeler into a turn at 70 mile an hour, put a broadside and come out of it broadside. You can take a side-by-side into a turn at 70 mile an hour and come out of it rolling on your roof.
Yeah, because you can't shift your weight, and once it goes, if you can't correct soon enough with the wheel, you're gonna go.
Bye-bye.
So
It's a 50-50 toss-up.
yeah, but I would say that overall, in general, they are the most stable out of the bunch. Agreed?
It's what the guy thought when he bought a Turbo S, and he rode it 3 weeks later.
Is that someone that came into the shop down there?
Uh-huh.
Brian here said real
Brian.
quick that they do have a Cadillac ride while off-roading, and again, that's one of mine too.
100%.
They do ride out of the bunch. They are the nicest riding. If not stock, you can easily upgrade shocks and get them to be the nicest riding, because that plays in. Your typical UTV is going to have a lot more suspension travel than a dirt bike or an ATV.
100%.
That,
So
and the seat doesn't cover, just your bum. You got your backrest, and then, it's like a chair,
I'm going to be honest.
a recliner.
When you put a 4-point harness in a side-by-side and it keeps you from ripping around, it's way more comfortable too.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
not bouncing around in the seat. I was just going to say
It,
that.
it might be a little tight feeling and claustrophobic feeling, but it don't hurt you as bad as just wearing a seatbelt.
It keeps you planted in that nice cushion to where you're not bouncing around. So yes, they are more comfortable. Again, same as ATVs, UTVs. Most UTVs are a true all-terrain vehicle. You can set them up to be good in mud, dirt, sand, rocks, what have you. Anything to add to that? Nothing. Moving on.
Nope, go.
No dead airtime. I will say that in today's market, UTVs have the most aftermarket support, even more so than ATVs. You don't see much for ATVs anymore, but the aftermarket accessories you can get for UTVs right now, it's crazy. You can get pretty
Bigger
much
body, more places to put stuff,
anything for any machine now.
more upgrades.
You can put coolers, you can put stereos, you can
Lights.
put lights, you can put
Tires,
suitcase,
winch.
you can put
Elephants, kangaroos.
I was gonna say giraffe.
Fritos.
Oh, Fritos. That'd be in the
Sorry,
snap.
I was just hungry.
We had a whole bunch of pizza before we started this.
My bad.
That way we got our brain juices flowing here. So they do have the most aftermarket support. So if
I'm on food now.
you're on food now your mind's on something completely different. So if you're someone that likes to accessorize your machine and make it far from stock, then UTV would be your go-to because they have the most support. But again, they are the most popular right now, I would say.
Yep, I'd say the
least-
most popular.
Maybe
Yeah,
not the most
also-
popular, but they get the most attention. We could say it that way.
Riding today, all we seen was you did see a couple four-wheelers, and the rest was all side by
Just all
We've seen a
side-by-sides.
lot of side by
Mhm.
So,
This is kind of
this is a benefit for UTVs. No offense here, but for elderly people, it's a little bit easier for them to go out and go riding because, again, it goes back to comfort.
That
Allows them to get out.
is exactly a point I was going to make. I was going to say it was unrelated to this topic, but just kind of popped into my mind there. You think the reason why we see more UTVs is because the younger generations that grew up riding dirt bikes and ATVs are now old enough where they went to UTVs. And if you're a younger generation, excuse me for this, but these younger generations are lazy and they don't want to get outside and do anything, so they're not buying machines to ride, and so they just sit in the house all day and play on their phones and don't get out there and enjoy an ATV or dirt bike.
Can't say it any better than that.
So I think that might play a part into it. Why we see the shift in popularity is because the ones that used to ride the dirt bikes and four-wheelers are now getting old enough. They want to ride UTVs, and there's no generation coming up with enough interest to get into dirt bikes and ATVs anymore.
When you pass another person in the trail, 9 times out of 10 in a side-by-side, the passenger is still face first in their cell phone.
Yeah,
Like
a lot of the
I've
riding
seen
today.
it. I've seen that.
Not a lot of the riders. The drivers obviously can't, but the riders, they don't pay attention to anything.
Yeah.
They're just along for the ride. And like you said, they sit around, do nothing all day. So what's better? Sit in the side by side, do nothing, and play on your phone?
Uh-huh.
You got to think
So-
too for riding like that. Sometimes for people, it's more of a just pure hobby. As for some of us, it's more of a session. It's more of a passion where we want to get out there, we want to ride. So for some people, it's out there just going out there.
I'm going to
Wasting
make a note here, guys, 'cause I think we just stumbled on a very good topic for a future podcast. The future of off-road.
Kawasaki, the innovation of dirt bikes.
That's just because you have a Kawasaki.
Sorry. That's just because it's
Seth,
We all know Yamaha's better.
this is
No.
this is your dirt bike category here right now, Seth. So it's going to be a while before we talk about dirt bikes again.
Okay.
You just have to sneak a little bit tidbit
Yep,
here.
I'm trying to get in what I can.
But that might be a very good topic for the future episode. Is the future of off-roading? Thinking about how we don't see a whole. If you see a younger generation out there, they're riding in a side by side with their parents driving.
Yep.
So
Or out with all their little buddies.
yeah. So that
Look, I got a side by side.
I think that would be an interesting topic to look at and think about for future episodes. Like, what is this sport going to look like in the future? So make a mental of that. Keep that in mind. Coming back to our pros for UTVs, I would say out of the three, they have the lowest learning curve as far as driving,
Main
developing
reason?
skills for.
It's similar to a car.
It's super similar to a car. And that ties into all these other things we said. They ride the nicest. They are the most stable. They probably handle the best. Debatable between ATVs. Again, we talked about that. But they have the lowest learning curve because you can pretty much, if you have no experience riding an off-road machine, but again, like Seth said, you have experience driving a car, you can drive a side-by-side.
Yep.
So
I'd
say
might not be great at it, but you can still do it way easier than the other two.
yeah. So I'd say learning curve, lowest on a UTV, probably highest on a dirt bike.
Yep.
Definitely. Again, that goes back to what we said about dirt bikes are a lot of work and a lot of hard work to ride. And it takes a lot of skill to keep from wrecking them. Anybody can ride a dirt bike, but it takes practice and skill to ride a dirt bike well.
Yep.
We could say it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So cons.
Absolutely.
By far, out of these three, the most expensive machine you could buy.
Yeah.
The prices of these things. I think we
sign your life away.
we end up mentioning this in pretty much every podcast so far about the price of these machines are getting
Insane.
astronomical. I mean, they are up there completely. I mean, you can pay more for a brand new side by side than you can pay for a street legal machine. But
That's sad.
again, that's today's economy. That's today's market. That's the technology they're putting into these machines, which is a good thing. The technology to improve them in different ways is a good thing.
I mean, like the whole safety thing about seatbelts. You have to have it or else it don't go over
10 mile an hour.
10, 15 mile an hour, depending on the machine.
Yep.
Smart thing. But then some idiot made a bypass for it.
Well, the people always find workarounds for everything. So
Right. I see so many videos on YouTube of people that think it's cool to go and do hill climbs and everything else. You don't think it's cool after you break your back when you fall out of it and the side by side runs you over.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Safety is key. And I honestly, I'm going to say 100% that a side by side, even though it's more safe, it's probably less safe than anything else because people get comfortable.
I was going to say, yep, it's a double-edged sword there. It works both ways.
Yeah, people get comfortable. They don't want to wear their safety protection. They don't wear helmets. They don't wear nothing. They think it's got a roll cage. What could go wrong? 5 broken ribs and a snapped spine, paralyzed for life. How hard is it to wear a seatbelt?
The factory ROPs on UTVs are made for collapsing, basically, to help absorb the impact. They are a one-time use thing, and they're not going to hold up very well to a rollover. And so
it depends on
you
the
still,
speed there,
even though you have that cage around there, it does kind of give you that false sense of security.
If
You still should have a helmet on.
if you watch a video of an old side by side, like an old Razor 800 or something like that, their cages don't fold near as easy as the newer ones. Even though the newer ones have a bigger tube and a bigger everything, they fold easy.
From what I've seen, the KRX has a pretty stout factory cage too. I've
Yeah,
seen
they
those
do.
roll on the stock
They're-
cages and
I
come
think-
out pretty much all right.
They're like 2.5 or 2.25 inches or something like that, and a Razor's like a 1.25 to 2 inch, depending. So
And again, like if I'm just putting around, no, I'm probably not going to throw a helmet on. If I'm just putting around the farm here, just going for a slow ride with the kids. But when I go out and rip, I have a helmet on every single time. So,
like today, we did the short course. We wore helmets. It's a flat course, but we wore helmets.
it's not the flattest. I mean, there's some sharp turns in there too. So
Yeah, but it's flat.
it's flat. You'd roll on
So,
the
I mean-
side. Chances of you roll clear over are slim. But so again, lowest learning curve, definitely a pro. But again, I guess that is a double-edged sword there because that can
Gets you
give
in a
you
lot of trouble.
give you a false sense of confidence. And I think that's one of the reasons why you see so many razors broke down. And we've mentioned this before, I think, in a podcast.
I'm sure.
because you get these guys that have never driven a side by side buying the fastest, most powerful machine they can buy.
Yeah.
And then they promptly roll it and wreck it and break it. But that's, I guess, part of the sport, I guess. It's a learning curve in all machines. So, and again, we're still going to have a topic about that.
What's
That
that?
might be the next topic.
What?
We'll talk about that when we're done here.
Write it down.
Well, no, it's one I've been thinking of for a while now.
Okay.
So maybe we'll save that here. Let's go through our cons. You guys have any other pros you'd like to add before we move on to cons?
No.
No. Seth, anything?
I thought we were already on cons.
Let me think. No.
Nothing? No. Okay. All right. Oh, we are on cons because we said most expensive. Then we
Yeah.
kind of came back to that.
See?
So
Get on top.
my mind's all over the
Get
place.
off the
It's all that
food
pizza.
topic.
It's all that pizza. Hardest to work on.
I'd say so.
Absolutely.
A lot to tear apart and a lot more moving pieces.
Maintenance
Lot
is
more.
worse.
Maintenance the worst because usually just for simple oil changes, you got to at least tear into something somewhere to get to
That
oil
They
filters.
wear out so much faster than
Mm-hmm.
a 4-wheeler or a dirt bike. People might think I'm stupid for saying that.
Well, no,
but after
it makes sense.
seeing and talking to people at work, they're getting 1,500 miles, 1,000 miles on a set of wheel bearings.
Mm-hmm.
There's some 4-wheelers that probably got 5,000 miles on a set of wheel bearings.
And I'm going to go back to thinking that probably plays a big part in the weight of the machine itself because it puts so
1,500
much
pounds.
more stress on parts when it weighs a lot more.
And it's
So-
how wide
And everyone puts big tires on, so that shoots your bearings quick
it does.
and your ball joints and all that. So the weight of the machine and just bigger tires and the horsepower these buggies are pushing now, that's going to wear parts out fast. So they're
Mhm.
harder to work on, and they probably do actually require being worked on more often. So
If what machine was it? I think it was a Terex. Yeah, it was a Terex, I do believe, or a Razor 800. To do all the control arm bushings, and in the back of those, they have bushings that come off the control arm into the knuckle instead of like ball joint style things. They're plastic bushings.
mhm.
I think whenever I sold a kit to a kid the other day, he didn't get the metal tubes in the middle. He didn't do the washers. He just did the
Just the
the
bushings.
bushings. And if he did the bushings, the tubes, like you should do when you tear them apart and do them, it was over $400. Like
Jeez.
well over $400 just to put control arm bushings all the way around
Wow.
the whole machine. It was like probably 40 something bushings on that, and they're plastic. I can't
just-
say metal is going to be any better, but
No.
I'd probably be upgrading like if I was someone was smart, they would make a ball bearing style bushing for endos. Just saying.
Just saying. And I guess the parts themselves for UTVs are usually, in general, more expensive. Like I just replaced the kingpins on Little Zippy about a month ago, and the bushings, the pins, everything for that was like $20 for both fronts. So
I know wheel bearings. Well, no, let's go to KRXs. The KRX front brake pads are some of the most expensive brake pads I've ever seen in my life. They're like $112 a wheel.
a
wheel.
So that's just for one pair of brake.
Yeah, that's for 2 brake pads.
Shoo-wee.
That's OEM spec brake pads.
Yeah. What how's the aftermarket on though? What can you get aftermarket wise?
I think there's like an EBC brake pad or one other one. That's it.
That's it. So there's
There's
not a
2.
whole lot of options there.
And I think they're $60-ish a side too.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's still
or corner.
pretty good.
It's a good price difference, but it's horrible.
Yeah, it's still up there. So,
Everyone thought Polaris was expensive. Just wait until Kawasaki. Just wait until Kawasaki's done. It's going to be beating Polaris, and they're already expensive.
yeah. So again, hardest to work on, and parts for them in general are more expensive. They are a lot harder to transport. You can't just throw. If you have a little 50-inch, you might be able to, but most ATV or most side by side, you're not gonna be able to just throw in the back of a pickup. You're gonna have to think about transportation a lot more. Get a trailer and haul them, strap them a lot more secure. So they are harder to transport than an ATV or dirt bike.
Yep.
So getting it to your trail might be a bigger feat. So that's something to consider when thinking on the king of off-road machine is how you're going to get it off-road in the first place.
And to find anywhere to park a truck and a trailer to go riding, people do not have the space to do that. Nor if you find a place to park a truck and a trailer, usually it's on property you're not allowed to be on.
Well, Dan, you shouldn't be riding on that property anyway, right?
Dan.
Dan.
Hey, I ride with you,
Dan.
so where we go.
Yeah. Not as trailable, depending on the width of the machine again.
True.
And I would say, on average, if you were to go to a UTV owner or look at their machine, it's probably going to be at least a 60-inch machine. You know, I love my little 50-inch machines.
Yep.
But people in general, they're going for the sports, the Razor 800s or 900s now. I guess they don't make the 800s. The 900s now. They're going to be at least a 60-inch machine. Talon X's 60-inch machine, 60 what is a Talon X? 64.
62,
And the
I
R,
believe.
yeah, and the R is a 68. So they're not going to be as trailable if you are to just go out in the woods and ride.
Well, let's say a lot of your trails out back here, they're tight, tree to tree pretty much with some of your side by sides. You take your side by sides, a four wheeler, and a dirt bike. The four wheeler and the dirt bike can zip through your trails twice as quick as your side by sides just because of fitting.
Mhm. So that's one thing that kind of hurts a UTV. Now, if you're someone that doesn't live like we do and can just go out and ride, it's not going to matter so much because will still be having to take it somewhere to ride, which is going to probably be an off-road park somewhere, which their trails will be big enough that they'll be accommodating to wider machines, but there still won't be as trailable for like East Coast, just hopping in, bugging through the woods, buggies. So that's a little con there. And then a final con I have for UTVs, because it is basically a car more or less, I think with that comes sort of a detachment from your riding that you don't experience in an ATV and
it's
motorbike.
more like you kick your feet back and you relax.
Yeah, there's kind of that separation. Like when you're riding an ATV or dirt bike, you are involved in what you're doing. You're paying attention. You're feeling everything. You're interacting with your ride. When you're in a UTV, there's a detachment there because you got a brake, throttle, and a steering wheel with power steering. So there is a detachment there, which I think that can kind of take away from the ride in one.
Yeah, I
in a
think
way.
it can take away.
It could take the vibe away.
Is about the thrill.
Yeah,
I think it can take a little bit of that away.
yeah, which is probably why you see the higher horsepower machines outsell these other ones, because in order to get that thrill back,
They need to put you back in your seat.
you need the big power. You need to be going fast to have that adrenaline up.
Yeah.
Which you can go slower on an ATV or dirt bike, and because there's so much interaction, so much you got to be doing to ride those things, that brings the adrenaline. You don't have to go as fast.
Yep.
So that's a good point there. Any others?
Oh, Susan.
Don't you cry for me.
Trying to think.
And guys, if you have anything else to add here in the comments, because I think it's pretty much wrapping up our pros and cons list. So now comes the hard task of
Deciding.
thinking of everything we've said tonight, and it's been quite a bit. We've been jabbing on here with this for about an hour. Can we come up with a definitive king of off-road machine? Not thinking about popularity, cost, but we'll say on the
overall big
functionality, the feng shui of your machine, whether your headlights pointing to the left or the right. No, the functionality of the machine. You gonna go first, Dan?
I'm gonna have to, honestly, I hate to say it, I'm gonna say dirt bike.
I'm gonna say dirt bike, Dan. What is your main reasonings behind this?
They're nimble in the woods. So if you buy the trail style bikes, they don't get hot. You can nimble through the woods. You can do what you want. You can cruise on them. They got better ground clearance. So you can go places four-wheelers and side-by-sides can't. You can do more on them, like hill climbs, without destroying your bike, because you can just, if you do something wrong, you just lay it over. Yeah, it's a good 50-50 chance you can still destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you screw up on a side-by-side or an ATV, 9 times out of 10, you're destroying it because it's going down a hill flipping 10 times. And it's toast.
Hey, you're done. You're done. You ain't riding that back out of the woods.
It's easier to load. So basically, for a one-person job, 100% easier on everything. It might be a better workout, but if people were in better shape, it wouldn't be that much more of a workout.
Speaking of people in better shape, Josiah just commented he likes bicycles. That's his opinion. Bicycles is the king off-road. Good old mountain bike, pedal powered. Don't need to pay for gas or fuel. It's just good old-fashioned low power.
So I'm stuck on dirt bike because you can go places on a dirt bike you can't go on a four-wheeler. If there's a mud pit you can't go through on a dirt bike, you can go around it.
Mm-hmm.
You can find a way.
Unless you're me. Then you can have someone pull you out of it.
I can go through that. I can make it.
I wish we still had that video.
Of which one?
The 250 back in your mud pit.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It came up on my Facebook memories a while back.
Because I went through it first with my four-wheeler, not realizing it was a mud pit. And then like, hey, look at this.
Yeah.
Dan. Oh, I got it.
That was back.
I would have had it the first time when he wasn't there if that bank wasn't so straight down.
Yeah, it is.
Because I would have made that.
That was back before the Appalachian Mountain Rider days.
Yes,
it was not a thing yet. So that's why there was no footage of that.
So, and it went through it really well until I hit the other side where you had to come up out of it. So anyone that says a dirt bike cannot go through deep mud, you're wrong. It
You gotta get your speed. You gotta carry that speed.
Is it a lot of work to do
a
so?
lot of work.
It is, but it can do it.
Because Lynn tried to take his 4-wheeler through that too at a time. What did he have?
That Moto
That was that
4,
old Moto 4. That's right. It
Mhm.
was just 2-wheel drive Moto 4.
It
And he
made
did.
it not near as far as I did.
No, he made it maybe halfway, not much. He got a good running start, and it was just like a.
Until he stopped when the bottom of the 4-wheeler hit the mud.
Mud. So Dan, you are saying you are going to crown dirt bikes as the king of off-road machines.
Yeah,
For the
and
reasons.
when I say dirt bike, it involves all kinds of dirt bikes. It does not have to be a racing dirt bike. It can be
A little
Hey,
125.
There's so
I'm
many
talking about
different
for
makes
fun,
and
huh?
models.
it can be anything.
So
So
fit your specific needs for
like
off-road.
we
Like a
compared
Tractor
4-wheel
Supply Coleman.
Yeah,
mini
we
bike?
we
Sure.
compared 4-wheel drive 4-wheelers with sport quads and figured out which ones were better for which things. So we didn't really compare trail bikes to racing bikes. We kind of just went off of dirt bikes.
Mhm.
If you had a trail bike, they're more comfortable, they're more nimble, probably. They're not as hot, they're easier to ride, and they're funner to ride, probably.
I
Because
agree with the
you don't,
Yeah.
there's not as much work involved because you're trying to control the power of a race bike.
Do they tend to have a little more? Would they have more plushier suspension or stiffer suspension though? Because they're made for
Softer.
street. They're softer
Yeah, so they're way better riders.
because they're not necessarily made for hitting the big jumps like a
Right, right.
dirt. Okay.
So that is my answer because you can do more on a dirt bike than you can a 4-wheeler or side by side.
Okay. Seth, what are your thoughts?
This
Now,
is hard for me.
We know
'cause
you are the dirt bike owner and you love your dirt bikes.
That's
Is
very, very true. But I have to go with, and I know you talked about this earlier, but I actually think I might have to agree with you on this. Even though if I had to go pick any three of these brand new, I'd pick a dirt bike for sure. But I'm gonna have to go with ATV, just for the fact that that is probably the most fun I've ever had on anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a little bit better for kind of in between. Dirt bikes, typically, not everybody can ride one, and whereas ATV might be not quite as easy as UTV, but a little bit more people. It's easier for them
More
to get
user
used to
friendly.
it.
Yeah.
So I think ATV because they still have the nimble factor, the easy load. They're still again easy for people to ride, and I don't know. I just think they have a lot of different things out there too. They don't, as far as dirt bikes go, they don't have as many different makes out there as far as like dirt bikes, as he was saying. They have, the race bikes, and then they have the trail bikes, and then you kind of got all in between different CCs all over the place. Whereas foolers, I don't think they have quite as much to choose from. But I think for the overall crowd of people, ATV is kind of the good in between.
Mm-hmm.
That's my answer.
Well, Seth, I agree with you 100%, and that is my pick as well. Is ATV.
I didn't play into the factor of winter weather.
Well, winter
Didn't you?
brings
I never even thought about
a
that.
whole nother factor into this, actually,
Because we are Pennsylvania people and we have to deal with snow.
because
I
I
never thought about
I
it.
This year
ride
especially.
all year round.
This year especially.
2 feet of snow to 3 feet of snow to no one can go anywhere with anything without burning up belts and other stuff.
Well, let's put it this way: in 2-3 feet of the snow, a dirt bike's not going anywhere.
3 feet.
2-3
under.
feet of snow. I don't think anybody's going anywhere for the most part.
We had the R-Max out in that much snow this
In
year.
all fairness,
And 2
you
feet.
did ride with me when I had my dirt bike in wintertime.
I did.
And it did not do awful.
It did not do awful, and we're not going to get into doing the whole track ski conversions
And
on these because
spikes
you can do that, sure, but
That makes it less trailable, though.
yeah, it does. It does. But
Yeah, dirt bikes can almost be thrown out of the equation when it comes to snow. Because yes, you can do it, but it's
you never see anyone out ripping
Yeah,
a
it's
dirt bike.
outrageous.
Yeah. They're made for nice weather in the dirt. So
It is 100% harder to ride a dirt bike in the snow. It is, but it isn't. If you take the time to stud a tire and do the stuff the proper way, it's not bad. But you're still not as fun, and it's definitely worth
Not
it.
as fun.
yeah. But again, my pick for the king of off road again is going to go to ATV as well. It is a good middle of the ground. It is ATVs are simply a do-all machine. They're small enough. They're still nimble in the woods. They're still maneuverable like a dirt bike. They're big enough that you got more suspension travel and more comfortable, like a UTV. So for a multi-purpose vehicle, if I can only pick one machine that I had to live with the rest of my life, I would probably go back to an ATV.
Here's something we never brought
A
up.
dirt bike has more suspension travel than a sport quad or a four-wheel drive four-wheeler.
Yeah, but suspension travel is not everything.
No, I'm just saying it does.
I was thinking about this. We never did mention this. Is utility-wise, obviously dirt bike. There's absolutely nothing, pretty much.
None.
And then the ATV and UTV, they both. There's a lot of utility four-wheelers out there, along with side-by-sides as well. Of course, they make a lot. But the ATV is still very capable of doing a lot of, snow plow. You can haul a lot of stuff behind, discing up stuff. There's a lot you can still do with a four-wheeler that you can do with a
That's
side-by-side.
not really off-road king though. That's utility word.
But it still plays into this.
It
All
can,
in all,
but-
I think the category here that you can do the most things with is going to be an ATV. ATVs can do things that dirt bikes do, that UTVs do, but UTVs can't do things dirt bikes do. Dirt bikes can't do things UTVs can do, but ATVs can do
Pretty much all.
what all of it can.
That is
So
true.
that is why I'm basing my pick as ATVs.
I agree. It has the overall king.
It is the working.
of
So Dan,
what-
you are outvoted here. That is 2-1.
But
So what?
you're all forgetting about the two-wheel drive dirt bike that they have made, and not anyone really knows about it. But they made a dirt bike that has a tube-style chain that runs from the back somehow to the front, and that runs down the front handlebars to the front wheel, makes it two-wheel drive.
I still feel like this would be terrible.
Yeah,
I would love to drive
Could
one.
you
because I bet
imagine
it
the
would
front
be
steer on that
so
thing?
hard.
You hit
What-
the
what-
throttle while you're
yeah.
turning. That thing gonna want to jerk the wheel out of your hand.
It's
Unless
a very
they
good. All right, send us one.
So that's fun. We're gonna
Wait,
test this
we
thing.
need
Whoever
a
makes
two-wheel
this,
drive dirt bike.
send an email, AppalachianMountainRider@gmail.com. Get a hold of me. We're gonna get one of these here. We're gonna
It was
test
some
Please.
foreign. It was a foreign company that's not real big in the U.S., but it's big overseas somewhere. They also have the wider, bigger wheel ones overseas as well that are also two-wheel drive, which would probably be pretty capable.
They're
of a
probably
lot of
pretty
stuff.
capable. Probably pretty capable. That's it.
But
That can be
we
my
don't-
introduction into dirt bikes. Is I'll get one of these two-wheel drive dirt bikes.
There you go. That's
and
good
we
for
will
Jason.
We'll do some testing. We'll do some reviewing.
Now, I've only ever seen the actual. It was a racing style dirt bike. And I've only ever seen one of those on one YouTube video that was chain drive. I have never been able to find it since then. So,
not a whole lot out there about them. So
No.
whether it was maybe a big flop and they're not made anymore. I
what
don't know.
kind of buggy you got there, Troy?
But anyway, we are going to say, as Troy can answer that, all accessories are on back order. He just says accessories are on back order due to COVID if you're listening on the podcast. And I think that's something we're going to have to deal with for at least another year.
A little
yet.
while.
But anyway, for tonight, for this podcast, King of Off-Road Machines, the title of that is going to go to ATVs.
Dun, dun, dun.
I wish, for the podcast, I'm going to add some beautiful music and post here.
I'm crying
Big,
inside.
royal sounding, regal music playing in the background.
What does regal
As-
mean?
I don't know. Did I just make that up?
I don't know. You said it several times.
All right,
Got me
Messiah,
curious.
you Google fella. What's that mean?
It's like I know what it means to think of it, but I don't know a good way to explain it. A sense of dignity and honor, and there's probably a bunch of things that play into it.
First thing that came to my mind is regal mark.
Regal mark.
That's
we
Well,
have that up the
we
road.
have that up the road. Uh-huh. So
Anyways,
that is, I think, what our decision is going to be for tonight.
King.
In this dirt bikes versus ATVs versus UTVs, the king of off-road machines is going to go to ATV, simply
Boom.
because they are a do-it-all that dirt bikes and UTVs can do. Not all, but they can do. Like I said,
overall,
ATVs can
they
do
do the
things
best.
dirt bikes and UTVs can do that UTVs can't do things that dirt bikes do, and vice versa. So
say it
I-
faster.
I'm not going to try to say it faster and get all tongue-tied. You can't make fun of me.
Hi, Milton.
So, but anyway, I think that'll wrap up our podcast for tonight. But if you guys are wanting us to stay on here, we will stay on here and chat for a while, as we did last week. If Seth can stay awake,
I'll try.
he's getting awful sleepy here.
Yep.
But we're going to conclude the official live portion of Pep Talk Live episode number 4 for now. You guys got anything else you want to say or talk about? We will remain on here for a bit. You guys got any interesting stories? Seth, anything interesting happened during your ride today on your dirt bike? No mishaps? Close
Oh,
calls?
actually,
Oh,
yes.
boy, see, I knew there'd be something
We
good.
did. As soon as we pulled out of the driveway with the dirt bikes, took my dirt bike there to his house. As soon as we pulled out, I'm sorry, Cooper. At the edge of his driveway, he stops and fell over. Dirt bike falls over.
Just stops and falls over.
Later that day, stopped again. He just went to take his phone out, fell over. So I'm sorry, but I had to say because it's hilarious.
That is kind of funny, especially that he wasn't like riding or trying to go around turn. He just stopped and boop.
Yep. Been there, done that.
Yeah, I think we all have.
You just don't pay attention, and it gets that little bit too far over, and then it's gone.
Again, a dirt bike is not quite as easy as a UTV.
That's because it takes physical labor to do it.
Yep.
No one wants to put physical labor into anything anymore.
Nope.
Mm-hmm. Milton's just now joining us. He's saying that he was helping somebody move, so he just got here. But he says he do love ATVs, and that was our crown winner. Again, I do have the Warrior. I do have Zippy, but I don't ride them very much. Well, the Warrior doesn't run. My preferred machine right now is UTVs, just because
That's your personal liking of riding.
Yeah.
It accommodates some of the things better.
I do have back issues. That's one of the reasons why I got rid of my Grizzlies, because it hurt my back to ride for long periods of time. Where I can ride a UTV because I'm sitting and ride it for a lot longer than I can ride an ATV.
Your family too.
So, and bring the family along.
I can honestly say it hurts me to ride about anything right now with the muscle issues I'm having in my neck and stuff. The whip back and forth, it just kind of gets to me.
That's because you did not take care of yourself when you were younger, Dan. I think Seth and I can attest to that on numerous occasions.
CR125.
It's not my fault. Someone calls me a sissy for not wanting to do something.
So, if you guys are wondering, I am still waiting on the Pioneer 520, which is probably going to be a while because I see people have been waiting months to get their ones from the dealers. So that's probably still going to be a while before I get mine from Honda to test and review for you guys. So I'm still waiting on that. I am going to write to Polaris about getting a new Razor 900 trail, a 50-incher, because no other channel on YouTube really covers these smaller 50 inches. They all go straight for the big horsepower machines. Yeah. And there's a market here for reviews on these smaller trail machines, which is what I like anyway. I like my smaller, nimble machines. So I am going to shoot Polaris an email, see if I can't work out something, maybe get a demo trail 900, one of the new ones. Whether that happens or not, we'll find out.
Thank you, Milton.
What do you say?
So we were all daredevils when we were younger.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
To answer Christopher's question.
Oh, yeah. What happened to the sport quad market? It's all about utility quads.
Sport quads are cheaper by every means.
Mm-hmm.
Sport quads are less comfortable by every means. They have less ground clearance. They're not as fun to ride. Well, to me, they are.
I was going to say, to me, that was the funnest thing I think I've driven.
Definitely sport quads are fun. Let me take it back. But
they are more purpose-built.
What?
Sport quads.
True. They're definitely built for one specific reason.
And that's to go fast. Not built for all-day rides.
I don't even want to say go fast. I mean, you can build them to go fast, but most of the new 400s, because they don't make the 450s anymore, they're still slower than the older 450s.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe max at 70 to 72-ish mile an hour. A sport quad, you could probably get 55, 60, which is fast. Some of the newer ones you can get up to 75, probably 80, depending on which one you buy. So you can do just about anything on a sport or a utility quad that you can do on a sport quad now.
Yep.
And
the bigger market is people trail riding these anyway. And I think people just like to have that utility for the size and the weight, gives comfort, the four-wheel drive ability if you need it. Trail riding.
I said the sport quad fits a very smaller, I should say, margin of people, that really prefer those over four-wheel drive four-wheels.
Yep.
So it's harder, I guess, for them to.
Josiah had a good question.
Where was that? I missed it.
Nope,
you guys have any guest starts? Guest starts.
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what a guest start is. I guess we just have someone come in and say, "Hey, we're starting."
That works.
Sit. Start.
Wait, Josiah, did you mean guest stars in the future? Is that what you're talking about? Are you trying to say, Josiah, that you are a star and you want to guest appear on our show?
Sorry.
I think that's probably what he's saying.
You got to run in track now. We can have a list of guests and do like
Top Gear.
Top
Yeah,
Gear.
Top Gear has a celebrity.
Small car. What's that big
Hey.
star? Small car.
Yeah.
Stars.
Yes.
Yeah, but we
That's-
would
I
be
can't talk.
no name people on a low end track.
Yeah.
So,
But
Hey,
but
it's still
still,
gonna be fun.
hey, it's ideas. These are working
I like
ideas here.
it. I like it.
I actually have been wanting to get. I've been talking with Craig Fulmer from 814 Suspension about having him do a sponsor build for me because my contract with Walker Evans is up, and 814 is a local company. It's what 30 minutes, 40 minutes to get to Phillipsburg from here.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that.
Something like
So, and I would like to have him on here, being he is a suspension guru and works with M Shocks, to talk about shocks in a future episode. So,
It'd be one of those podcasts where everyone just sits and drools while he's talking about that scientific stuff. We have no clue what he's
well,
talking
no,
about.
we'll make it fun. We'll make it interactive.
no,
we
that's
can
what I'm
get some
saying.
videos in there.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
so entertained by what he has to say. I won't be able to say anything.
You'll just be
'Cause
listening.
I'll be like, I never knew that.
Uh-huh. So yeah, we probably have some stars on here and there, at least some industry gurus as my podcast grow. Milton said here he's got a Grizzly 550 and it's a mudding machine. And having owned a
Well, that goes-
660 Grizzly and a 700 Grizzly, they were pretty good
Pretty
machines to
sure
mud.
Jesse's is going to be a monster.
Jesse's.
Grizzly 660 with those mud and tires off the Rhino.
Mhm.
Those
Well,
are
see,
awesome.
that 660 I had mud lights on, and that thing would go through any mud hole I stuck it through.
Would be awesome.
So yep.
I haven't got stuck in too many mud holes with my 400 until the tires started spinning on the rim.
Well, yeah, you got
And that
bad
kinda
tires.
ended that. So,
Ah.
yeah. Sigh.
I do miss the sport quads now I think about it.
They're
Even
fine.
mine,
They're
even mine
just-
was small.
I really
but,
need to-
woo, it was fun.
To get that Warrior running.
Yes.
I mean, it's not. Yeah, it's a sport-ish quad. I don't know if maybe people would consider a 350 Warrior a sport quad. It's more of like a two-wheel drive trail quad. But
Yeah,
it could be
it's
pretty.
it's kind of
zippy.
trail sport in between.
It-
you know?
Yeah,
They can be fun when you want them to, and they can
I'd
do
say they're
work
more
when you want them
more
to.
Yeah.
towards a sport quad.
yeah. So
You're playing footsies with me.
Well,
Hey.
yeah, long-legged giraffe.
Hey, I can't with that. I'm sorry. What do you call these moments?
lols, but we're done.
Lol.
We're done with the official podcast. This is just
Lol.
hanging out with the viewers now, talking about whatever they want to talk about. I was trying to think if I had any more news besides, like we mentioned in the podcast. I've got my short course somewhat set up. It still needs a little bit of work. Basically, what it needs is just some more runs to kind of get it broke in, get some rough spots, a couple of little mud issues to take care of yet.
I found out.
Stuff dries up.
If you know anyone with a cheap bulldozer for sale,
You could
Let us
definitely
know.
probably use a bulldozer out there. I want to donate. a
That would be
bulldozer. That's
awesome.
what we're doing.
Yeah.
Please donate a bulldozer to Appalachian Mountain Riders.
when you see the videos, you'll see it's not exactly a smooth track, and it's soft, so we need a lot of dirt.
But
It's
that
very
that
soft.
adds to the technicality of it, though.
I don't think the dip by the tree is going to be
That
getting any better.
no, that's gonna I think continue to
It's-
get worse, and it's gonna
yeah.
it's gonna end up, especially if you watch when the video comes out. You watch
Hey,
the R Max, it
man,
really
we're
wants
down.
to slow.
I don't know if you could see me on that one video, but when I came,
No, you hit it pretty
It's
good.
my first pass.
Mhm.
I came through there and hit that mud, and I sunk down on probably 4 or 5 inches. Ooh, that was close.
That was close. Milton, we will get a few more jumps in here and there. That's one of the things we have yet to build on the short courses to incorporate a jump in that.
We got to
It'll
build
be
one
there.
like over at that one. What track? What riding course was as we went to that?
Oh, like
yeah,
Majestic Trails.
yeah. They
The
had that
tabletop, I
tabletop.
Aired the X4 on
We need to go back
Epic
there.
Air.
We
We do
definitely
go back
need to
there
go
with the
back
R Max and the Wildcat.
Yep.
That'd be fun.
Oh yeah.
I have
Dirtbike.
yet to jump the Wildcat. I have no idea how it's going to do as far as
Ooh.
be nose heavy or not.
We-
So that's going to
well,
have to.
I feel like the arm
The
has to
first-
do way better than it though, as far as jumping.
You can't jump at anywhere but one place.
I believe I can fly jump has to be the first.
No. The camp. That's the first place you've jumped every side by side you've ever owned.
No. I believe I can fly. The only one that I jumped first
you
there
guys talking about the
was
same place?
or is the Pioneer 1000.
You jumped the X4 there. Remember your church
Or
camp?
was it the X4? Okay, that was.
Oh, that you
Okay.
talking there.
So that was the only machine that jumped there first. Everyone else has jumped on.
But
I
it's
believe I can fly.
perfect jump for that.
It would be a pretty good jump for that.
I'd
And
like to
there's
test
some nice trails we can hit up there. We haven't rode up there in a long time.
It has been a while.
Sarah's episode, the sport
Wildcat
version
sport.
of the Wildcat.
Mhm.
I know that one. I know that jumps very well.
Mhm.
I'm
See,
impressed
we got
with it.
enough. We got enough people with buggies now. We can ride at church and have enough for everybody.
Yeah.
By enough people, I mean you got 3, and Sarah's got one.
That's not that much.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but we're good there.
borrow Jesse's Rhino if he's willing. There's another one.
He'd probably go. He hasn't riding with us in a long time.
No, and this fall, I might as well talk to you guys right now. I can let it in for these guys here as
Big
well.
secret, I guess.
No, it's not a big secret, but
No.
we plan on hitting spearhead trails in
Don't know what that
Virginia.
means. Is that just a set of trails?
It's right there beside Tatfield McCoy.
Huh.
But they
Hatfield McCoy, I would so love to get back.
the reason why I can't go to Hatfield McCoy is they have an age limit on kid passengers, and my kiddos cannot ride legally on Hatfield McCoy. But Spearhead is But I was looking into that, but we'd have to get either hire a guide to lead us around. I'm not the kind of guy that likes to follow someone.
Lost
Absolutely
really
not.
fast.
Or I have to, and I've been looking into this, spending the money to get the GPS and then download the trails maps for it, which
would
there
not
are.
cost a lot of money. But if you can find one of your buddies on YouTube here that watches your videos, I'm sure some of them spend a.
But the thing with the Spearhead Trails is it's just as good as Hatfield and McCoy because it's right there, just north. It's in Virginia, not West Virginia, and you can actually get to we stayed at Ashland Resort.
Yep.
And you can ride from Ashland up the road and get on the Spearhead Trails, like the original Pocahontas Trail and stuff.
Oh, that's cool.
But they don't have any age limitations on kiddos.
Cool.
So
Who owns that?
I don't know.
Spearhead.
Just
Spearhead Trails.
Is it public? You have to pay to ride it?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
yeah, you do. But they don't have the age limitations. So.
Oh, it is. It is perfect weather for overland trips.
It is. I don't know anywhere that you can legally do overland trips and without traveling a long distance.
Hey, we can invite people here and just take them in a big old circle, and they never know where they're at.
That's true. I got enough windy trails back here. We can put around winding slow and be like only a mile away from this house, but make it feel like we're out in the middle of nowhere.
Sure.
What is that? There is can attachment with a little P5.
I don't know. Troy, what did you mean there? I don't think there is can attachment with a little. I don't understand either, Troy. It's getting late. My mind's not working.
Speaking of the Pioneer 500,
what about it? Talk
what's
about
the latest update?
well, I put the second turbo on. And here's what I think my problem has been with the turbos and my issues is I've been running too thin of oil. Oil has been seeping through my seals because it's too thin, and it's making me think I'm pushing too much pressure, so I'm dialing the pressure back too far and starving the turbo with oil. Because turbo number 2 is already down. Because I had that, as you guys saw in the last video with it, where the oil was just spewing out of the exhaust. And so I dialed the pressure down, thinking it was too much pressure. Well, then I finally got enough common sense to think, well, I'm going to replace the dark solid tube from the drain line with a clear one so I can actually watch the oil. And the pressure I set, the oil came out nice for about a minute, and then it all but stopped. And so I think I just lost oil pressure and then starved the turbo of oil. So I've got that clear tube now where I can watch it. I'm going to go with a heavier weight oil now. So I think that'll take care of the issue. Then I can keep my pressure up without pushing that thin oil through the seals.
So try mineral for your turbo. But boy, when it's done, this will be cool.
I'm hoping so. I got, and this will be an upcoming video of the second turbo fail. I got from the end of the driveway here to about the planer shed where I humped on it at 7 pounds of boost. Now, I guess that was when I cranked it up and pushing 10. And I was probably about 8 or 9. And it took off. I was impressed. I was like, woo! And then it was like, I was like, that's not good. And the compressor wheel got stuck in there again and hung up, so I wasn't building boost. So it lasted for a little bit of no, let's train of thought. But yeah, that little joy only lasted for a second, but that little second was a big second. The results I've gotten is enough to make me keep working here to get all this little nitpicky stuff straightened out, because once it's done, I think it's going to be very, very good results. So
where you're from, Milton?
We'll get it. Yeah, Milton's hoping to travel up that way soon.
What? Ooh.
And yeah, so I mean, what is our? We hit every trail basically in Pennsylvania that you have to pay to
All
enter,
the
don't we?
there's still quite a few we didn't. We hit all
Big ones.
the big ones. We stayed away from. I mean, there's several little parks around that have like 30, 40, 50 miles of trail.
We cover that so quick.
I mean, we were covering Lost Trails was 100 and some miles, and we covered that in less than a
Was
day.
that the one up by what, Scranton?
Yeah,
The one up north, right? Up.
yeah, it was like northeast.
Eastern.
Yeah.
I was not impressed with that place.
No, I mean it was fun for a day trip if you're nearby.
$30 to get in that.
It
thing.
was the most expensive, and like I said, we covered the trails in less than a day. There really wasn't anything technical there.
I think Hatfield McCoy was that same price for a rider.
It was,
Well,
it was
here's the thing
50
with the Hatfield McCoy: you pay that much for a whole year pass.
Yeah, it's $50
Yeah.
for the whole
So-
year. The Hatfield McCoy, I think, it was by far the best price. in my opinion,
Milton's from
for what
Arkansas.
you can do.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
About that'd be a 12-hour trip. I think it's about 10 hours to Tennessee. It's probably about, depending on where you're at in Arkansas, probably about a 12, 13, 14-hour trip. So, hey, yeah, Milton, if you're going to come up this way, give a holler.
Tons of cool trails.
Yep.
Yeah, we definitely got to get back to the one at the track. That was
Majestic was, we all agreed
That was
that was definitely worth it.
Yeah.
It was cheap too, wasn't it? Like 15.
Yeah,
bucks?
it was not expensive. The trails were fun. It had that little track set up. We, of course, aired the X4 on.
Took us what, 2 hours to get there?
I still say that is the biggest jump I've seen on YouTube of an X4 that has not broke. Now there is a, you can find it. I can't think of the guy's name right now. Where he aired out his X4 like epically, but it probably completely destroyed the front end of his his machine. So it did not survive that. So I still say I have the biggest
Successful jump.
I
on
think
an
you
X4
showed us that video.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I showed you guys that video.
It's been a while, so you might have to recap us on that.
And like I said, I can't believe I have not jumped the Wildcat. That's it. Got the computer. We're going to take this live. We're going to go hit the jump right
Let's
now.
get some
Grab the
flashlights.
computer.
Yeah. We can go home and get my truck. We don't need any lights.
We're going to have to. I got to jump that. I have yet to jump it. Before we lose our jump, they reclaim it.
Yep. Or make a new one. I mean, that's
Well, we'll
pretty
make a new
simple.
one, but I mean, it's the I Believe I Can
Yeah,
Fly.
that's
It's
true.
the OG Appalachian Mountain Rider jump.
Yep.
I bet you can clear that because it's got that downslope on the other side. If you could get enough speed to hit that, you could probably hit that nice slope.
You
on
stop
the
talking
far.
about majestic trails.
No,
No, I believe it can fly.
Oh, but there really is no downslope. I mean, it's just
It's a really
up.
far gap,
Well, yeah.
but if you hit it in the right spot, you can get some good distance on it.
Mm-hmm.
The RMAX gets up and goes fairly quick. I bet.
I think I could clear the tabletop at Majestic Trails with the RMAX.
I wonder if it jumps just like the X4.
From what I've seen people jumping, it jumps pretty similar. It's not like Talon nosedives horribly. And what I've seen from the RMAX, it stays pretty level. There are some videos, although that's a 2-seater. I don't know if I've seen anyone jump a 4-seater.
That should
enough,
be
a big difference, shouldn't
It has
It
enough
would be.
It's all the
power,
weight
I think, to throttle control it. Like you were
Yeah.
saying, if you at the end of the jump you hit the throttle to bring it up, it'll jump smoother, or it could bring it up.
And
I think it has enough power to actually do that. Most of your other ones didn't. Really
I have jumped
that.
the RMAX. I didn't have a camera roll on, but I have jumped an RMAX
Don't ruin it.
out there. I Believe I Can Fly, and it did great.
You ruined it.
So, well, I mean, I'm alive. The machine's still running. People still seeing video. So it was one of those things where I drove out around the hill, and there was a couple guys sitting there. I think ones that you have seen back in there for an X3, and of course I'm in this old man 4-seater. I saw them sitting there. One was an X3. I thought, I'm just going to go around the jump, and it's probably the farthest jump I had done on that actually. Then when I was done, I was like, oh, I didn't have a camera. I should have saved up for a camera. We'll do it again. Well, that'll be maybe the next pre-podcast adventure, because you guys always come up and ride a little bit before you record these podcasts. We'll do
Sounds like
a
a good
jump
idea.
session out there. We'll take the Wildcat and the RMAX out and
Yep.
hit the jumps next month before next
Something
month's podcast.
tells me the Wildcat is going to be the worst out of all of them,
Probably.
except for the 500. Stock to stock, your 500s.
Oh yeah, it's
but
a
the-
small machine.
Even with the Walker Evans, I mean, it's a 500. The Walker Evans made a big difference, but it's still 5.5 inches of travel.
I haven't been in it when you jumped it with the 60-inch.
I haven't jumped it,
That's probably a
but
good idea.
well, see, that's the thing. The
That's
reason
not built for that.
No, with the added leverage of the long travel
It's a lot
and
of pressure.
knowing how weak the front A-arm tabs are on that thing. I was afraid to rip them off if I jump it. I have done a light jump in it since I put the long travel on, but that's probably the most I would risk. That's not my jumper. I've got faster machines for jumping now. That will rate the X4 became my jumper. Now I got the R-Max and the Wildcat. We'll see how it holds up. But so okay.
Well, I'm excited for this summer. Sounds like we're gonna have tons of stuff to cover.
Oh my! I'm excited to get my track up and running, and
it's nice that you better get started.
I'm working on it.
Before it gets to winter.
We're working on it.
It honestly, in one day of maybe taking 15 passes on it, worked itself in pretty good so far.
I think a little fresh dirt on some of them soft spots now on top, so it can pack down a little more. Will be good.
And not necessarily just pack down, but get the groove going.
Yep. So
listen here, long legs.
My feet are staying
you
here.
guys quit playing footsie. Okay, we're gonna have to end this because this is a family show, and you guys are getting crazy with your playing footsie.
There will be a fist.
There'll be fisticuffs and blood a flying. So I think we're at an hour and 30. So I think we are going to call it for tonight. But guys, thank you very much for joining in and sticking with us for this whole hour and a half, and for being with us for the recording of Pep Talk Live, episode 4. I hope you guys have a good evening. Any closing thoughts?
On a
Honda 70 ATC. Graduated to a 185 and then a 350X.
I started on a 72.
Mm-hmm.
You and Troy are brothers, Seth.
What's up, bro?
70cc brothers.
Hey, that 3-wheeler was my life for like 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Then you had the little. What was your little 4-wheeler? Your little Honda 4-wheeler. What's it?
250.
Little
TRX 250.
That thing made it Hatfield McCoy Trail.
That is by far, in my opinion, the toughest machine I've seen.
Mm-hmm. You rebuilt that, didn't you?
Yeah, because I starved it of oil for an entire ride up here in the winter, which, it's only 2 wheels spinning in the back.
Yeah.
We went on a snow ride, did nothing but spin and rev the RPMs like crazy with no oil in it, which I did not know, and it still survived.
You still survived.
And
that is a Honda for you.
And I rolled it down a massive hill.
You did. I would still honestly say my Quad Runner 160, I still think is the funnest, even over yours. Because it was,
I don't remember.
You didn't ride it a whole lot. You were young when I had that.
I think that's when I first got my 250.
I had it about a year before you got it. Yeah. But it was fun. I beat the snot out of that. You can ask Jesse. He's watched me almost flip it down below your house several times.
TRX 250 was still probably my funnest so far.
Small, it doesn't always matter on the size, but it matters on what you can have the most fun on.
Yep.
And
Agreed.
I can honestly say small youth 4-wheelers are probably some of the funnest things you can have to ride.
It's like zippy down there. That little thing's fun to.
Yeah, it's fun to just get on and
I'll have to get some.
Off, have fun.
Now I got that pretty much up and running. I'm gonna have to get some video of that guy running too. Still don't have plastics for it, but oh well. But anyway, guys, thanks for joining in for this live session for the Pep Talk live recording. I'm getting sleepy, getting ready for bed. So Troy, good night. Everyone else that's joined us this evening, good night. We will see you for next month's podcast. I got my notes here for a couple. I'm not quite decided on the topic yet, so I'm not going to say that yet. So keep an eye out on Facebook for the post on what the topic of discussion is going to be.
Make sure you share the Facebook post.
Yep. And I hope you guys enjoy these Pep Talk Lives. Again, I'm always open for any suggestions or topic suggestions. Send them to peptalklive21@gmail.com or drop me a line on Facebook. But for tonight, guys, we will see you later and have a good evening and keep on
riding.
Dan's always behind.
Whoa.
I was behind pretty bad. I'll admit that.
That was the worst out of